Okay, yes, this is Gregg Braden. I think he's quite good. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, let's go.
Of experience, and that each of these little concentric circles is a vibratory experience that we must pass through before we reach this Buddha state, this state of balance and enlightenment. And even the Christian traditions, this is a page out of one of the old Christian mystery school texts. The mystery of mystery, this comes right out of the book of Corinthians in the biblical texts. It says, "Lo, I tell you a mystery, in those days of the shift of the ages, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye." It says it right there, in the twinkling of an eye. And as you go into some of the other texts, the Mormon texts are particularly interesting, because it says, "In those days ye shall never endure death. Ye shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye, from mortality to immortality." They use almost exactly the same words. And they go on to say, "I know that many of you have asked of things to come, that you believe we must waste away from our flesh and die. Nevertheless, in our bodies we'll see our Creator in these days." What they're saying, in our bodies.
Yeah.
There's something really powerful happening in that piece of text. They're all saying that we're going to change, and that the change is going to occur within our bodies. Clearly, from their perspective and from mine, I see this time in history as a birth, and as a time of life, and as a time of tremendous opportunity. If we view life through our left and right brains alone, if we view life through the eyes of logic alone, that we will always see separateness in our world. If you look at life through your left and right brain, you'll always see a light and a dark, and you'll always see a good and a bad, and you'll always see a right and a wrong. That's a path that has served us very well. And now we're invited to move, transcending that path into an even greater path. And what they say is that logic is great, and logic must be tempered with wisdom, and it's the wisdom that comes from the heart. Well, it's been within the last few years that researchers now have found a new way to view this. If you don't like the word heart, if that's too nebulous for you, you may call this the 7-layer liquid crystal oscillator that lives in the center of our bodies, because that's precisely what it is. And what they say is this, that by tempering logic with the wisdom of the heart, somehow our bodies will change, that our DNA is going to shift. And as our DNA shifts, our bodies change, and as our bodies change, rather than spirit leaving our bodies during the phase transition, our spirit stays with our bodies. The holy union remains intact. Through changing the way that we think and feel and emote in our lives, through tempering logic with wisdom, we're able to allow spirit and matter to stay intact. And as we do that and move through a phase transition, we become something much different than we have in the past. And it is a non-religious process. Now, I'm saying that because I believe at least once in our memory, in our conscious memory, we were given the opportunity to witness this phase transition in our presence. In our presence. And I believe that's the technology that was offered by this man. Religions were built around that process, and I can certainly see how that would happen. And it is, from my perspective, the opportunity to embody the greatest potential of what it means to be human. It is by virtue of the changes in Earth that we have the opportunity to do this. So many people have been very concerned to the point sometimes of being frightened by the changes that are occurring within the Earth. Could it be, now since this is Earth,
your mama, papa.
Could it be that Earth's changes are the very catalysts that allow us to become something greater in this lifetime?
Yes,
We're
Greg.
changing within a single
Yes,
lifetime.
yes. Single
Historically,
lifetime.
we've seen tremendous leaps in human potential with the
Tremendous.
birth of a new life. In one generation, a challenge is presented to families or to communities or societies, and their future generations then mirror the changes needed to adapt to that shift.
Yes, adapt.
What's happening with us is that we are creating and allowing those changes now within the single lifetime. This is not about death, it's about birth from an existing life. The biblical term for this is resurrection. In a very real sense, earth is going through a resurrection. Our bodies are invited to allow the possibility. The ancients left us the keys of the allowing. It's less about what we do, and more about what we become. Now, I believe that this time in history, this is the paradigm where we've been conditioned to do. So many times people will come to me in a workshop and they'll just say, okay, just tell me what to do. What meditation do I do? Or what supplements do I take to allow this thing to happen? And that's my challenge. In
Fasting.
a paradigm in a society where we've been conditioned
Zero.
to do, what language do I offer to you that says we've transcended the doing? I believe we've outgrown the doing. Now is our opportunity to become. We must become the very things that we choose to have in our lives. And we were left the keys.
All right,
Very
well,
clearly, if we have the wisdom to recognize
maybe you know
those
all
keys,
this.
we were left the
Should
keys
I go on,
in those
or
ancient texts. Dr.
should I
Yenny, from
stop?
my perspective in the 20th century, pioneered a renewed awareness of a powerful relationship that I know that you all are aware of here because you've been told. And I'm
Relationship.
going to offer this now so that you may witness and know it here and actually feel what it is that this relationship is offering to us. And it's the relationship between vibration and matter. What Dr. Yenny did was essentially pump vibration into a media. Sometimes he would use a powdered media, such as a lycopodium, which is the spore of a mugwort plant. Perfectly spherical, low surface tension, beautiful patterns. Sometimes he would pump those frequencies into a liquid, and that's what we're going to witness here today. This is a water droplet that you're going to see, and in this water droplet, a frequency is being pumped into this water droplet.
This is fantastic.
As the frequency is mirrored in the droplet, you'll actually see the geometric patterns in that droplet.
Okay.
Now what's happening, and the reason that this is so significant, is because we're going to do a frequency sweep. We're going to go from low frequencies to higher frequencies. And what you'll find is this. You'll see that in the lower frequencies, the patterns are less complex. And in the higher frequency, the patterns are more complex. So we're going through a sweep from lower to higher frequency. I'm sharing this with you now because Earth is essentially going through a frequency sweep. Our fundamental pulse, our base pulse that has hovered around 7.8 cycles per second, now is changing. And again, there's a lot of controversy about what the change is, and we're witnessing the change. As we go through our planetary shift of this pulse, patterns of energy must change to respond to that, just as patterns of energy in this water are changing to respond to this
Yeah,
pulse.
check this out. Yeah.
And we'll begin with simply the concentric patterns in the water. As the frequency begins, every once in a while we'll reach a key threshold resonance, such as that moment right there. And in that key threshold resonance, the entire pattern morphed into a more complex expression of itself, simply because the frequency changed. Now watch what happens. The frequency is still increasing. And watch what happens. As we reach another key threshold resonance, this entire pattern will morph into a beautifully and more complex pattern of itself. Again and again.
Wow.
And look at this pattern right here. Look what you're seeing right here. Look at the beautiful geometry. Here is a perfect cube. There's a perfect tetrahedron, a star tetrahedron. In 2 dimensions, we've got the octahedron. Very powerful images of sacred geometry held in place simply because
Wow.
we've achieved the vibratory pattern that allows that in this water droplet. And as the vibration increases, these patterns will become more and more complex. You can see
Like
the
a
pulse
crop
where you are.
circle.
Can you see the pulse actually in the water? As we go into the last set of the frequencies, what you'll see is that the entire, and you'll watch along the outer perimeter, the entire pattern reaches its greatest level of complexity, and then it goes back, as the frequencies drop, it goes back to what it was, the concentric circles, as it was originally. It almost looks alive. You know, you've been offered many times the concept that thought is vibration. Have you ever considered that emotion is vibration? Feeling is vibration. We are always feeling something.
Yeah.
We are always emoting something. We may not always be aware of what that is. We carry those patterns with us. As we hold a feeling, an emotion, what we're doing is we are holding a vibratory pattern in the liquid crystal of our bodies. What pattern do you hold in your body? What is your emotion? What is your feeling? Are you aware of it? Are you aware that as you change your emotion, you're changing those patterns in your body? There is a technology that was essentially lost to the West about 700 years ago in terms of how we regulate patterns.
Okay, friends, this
emotion
is going to end now.
They've been largely ignored in the West.
Hope you enjoyed it.
We've become a very mental society.
Bye-bye.
Which is